Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, everyone. My nerves were bad. I'm here. Thank you for joining me. Today we have Emily Liebert here, and I'm really, really excited. Um, Emily, when I saw her on the screen for Real Housewives of New Jersey, it was something about her that emanated, and I knew I wanted to speak with her. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Emily up. Okay, guys, and be sure to be nice.
Hi.
Yes. Hi, Emily.
How are you?
I am so great. I'm great. So, what I normally do, Emily, is when I go live, I greet everybody that's in the chat. I like to acknowledge everyone that's here.
Sure.
And I was speaking to you about Susie, who is a really good friend of mine. And her other book is actually on my bed. I'm almost finished. But this is the author I was telling you about, Susie. She writes the Click
Oh,
series.
I love that. Hi, Susie.
Yeah, so Susie is here in the chat and she knew how nervous I was. I said, well, I knew you. I talked to you. I've never interviewed. So she was like, well, thanks, Heidi.
Excuse me. I just sneezed. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so we have Kels in the house. Kels is my moderator, and bless you. We have
Hi.
Sherry is one of my moderators as well. We have Amina here from Scotland. Hi, Amina.
Hi,
We have
Amina.
Kelly here.
Great.
Let's see. We have Susan Dawson is here, and they're normally rolling. They're normally a little late, but I am so glad that you're here with me
Me
today.
too.
Just to give you guys a rundown of who Emily is, Emily has written 7 books. She's also on U.S. Today's best-selling authors list. Her first book was Facebook Fairy Tales, which we're going to get into. Her next book was in 2013. She wrote You Knew Me When. These titles are catchy. I told you that. Titles. And then 2014, she wrote When We Fall. 2015, she did Those Secrets We Keep. 2016 is Some Women. 2019, we have Pretty Revenge. And the new book, 2020, is
Yeah,
Perfectly Famous. Now, I'm going to
true.
ask you now, before we get to do you have any other books that you're working on right now?
I do. I have a few.
Ooh.
I have a new novel that I'm working on, and I have a few celebrity ghostwriting projects that I'm also working on because that's something I do in addition to writing my own books.
Okay, so since you brought that up, let's just knock this out really quick.
Get it
You're
out there.
writing, okay.
Mhm.
You Ghost wrote the book for Margaret Josephs. What is it? Caviar and what was it?
Caviar Dreams Tuna Fish Budget.
Yeah, Caviar Dreams Tuna
Caviar
Fish
Budget
Budget.
would be nice, but Caviar Dreams Tuna Fish Budget.
Now, I know your last 2 books, you were with Simon and Schuster. So you
Yeah.
got to, so Marge's publisher is also Simon and Schuster. So is that how you met her?
No, it's actually a total coincidence. My first books were with Penguin Random House,
Yes.
which they merged, Penguin and Random House. And so my first novels were with them. And then my last 2 novels were with an imprint called Gallery at Simon and Schuster. And Margaret and I were friends prior to her selling the book and her agent selling the book. And it's a total coincidence. We don't even have the same agent. It's just a coincidence that, and a different editor as well.
Okay.
They bought her book as well. And Gallery is an amazing imprint. And, I love doing the last 2 books with them. And I think she had a great experience as well.
Okay, Marge seems like, seriously, just like I said with you on screen, Marge seems like she's a really warm person as well. I know sooner or later I really want her on, but right now she can't be. But I have liked her from the day she stepped foot on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I like her. She seems like she's down to earth, and I love her mother as well. So let's get into you.
Sure.
How old were you when you wrote? How old were you when you wrote your first book, or when you knew you wanted to be a writer?
So What I'll say is that I always have loved to tell stories from a very young age. Even as a little girl, I would sort of like regale my parents with detailed stories, and I would probably embellish them a little bit too, if I'm being honest, which I guess is why I like making up stories for novels. But so I would say from a very young age, I knew I loved to tell stories, and I probably started thinking I wanted to go into journalism in some way. It wasn't necessarily to be an author and write books or even specifically novels. I would say I knew I wanted to go into journalism probably toward like the end of high school. And then I majored in English language and literature in college. And how old was I when I wrote Facebook Fairy Tales? Let's see. I was 32, about to turn 33 when it came out, because I had my first son. No, this was my second son. So it was my second son I was pregnant with on book tour. Whoops. So I was 33 when it came out, but it came out in like April, and I turned 34 in May. So I was almost 34.
Oh, well, okay. So
to be really specific.
Tell us about Facebook Fairy Tales. How did you conceive this book? Tell us about that.
So that's a good question. I guess at the time Facebook was, I mean, not that it's not a big deal now, but it's kind of more commonplace now. It had been in colleges, but it had just sort of really started to explode in the public, and everyone was getting on Facebook. And I figured that at some point with all the people on Facebook, there had to be people who were making connections or posting things, and something cool was happening from it. Some kind of domino effect that originated with Facebook. So I brought the idea to my literary agent, and she said, I think it's a great idea, but you have to actually go out and find a handful of stories so that these stories actually exist before we try to sell it to a publishing house. So I did a lot of research online and found some stories that way that had already been written up in, let's say, a local newspaper or something, but hadn't been printed in a national book, or international for that matter, book. And then I also reached out to Facebook, and they had a portal where users were writing in their stories, and they were willing to collaborate with me in certain ways on the book. And that was one of them, by giving me some of those great stories.
Okay, so did you have to go through Mark Zuckerberg, or did you go through a spokesperson? Because that led to you getting the job as a spokesperson.
Right. So I definitely did not go directly through Mark Zuckerberg. Okay. He doesn't really handle that stuff. But I did get the amazing pleasure and really very cool honor of getting to interview him for the foreword of the book, which was just awesome. And then I was hired by Microsoft because Facebook had a partnership with Bing, and they hired me to do some spokesperson spots for them for that partnership.
Okay, I'm gonna, Susie is here. She has a question. She says, how did you find a literary agent?
Yeah, that is a really good question. So I first wrote a novel, which was somewhat based on my own life. And there's nothing horrible that's happened to me or anything like that. It was just kind of a fun, like, chick lit novel. About a relationship that I had and something, that had gone wrong. Nothing bad, just, let's just say something he did that was not, on the up and up. And so definitely did. So it was about that. And so I wrote that whole book, which is what you have to do when you write a novel. If you want to get a literary agent for fiction, you have to write the entire book first. If you want to write nonfiction, you can write sort of like a summary or a proposal and get a literary agent that way. So I wrote this whole novel, And once you get a literary agent, they usually want to edit the book a little bit with you before they try to sell it, just to make it as desirable as they think it should be. And while I was going through that process with my then agent, I came up with this idea for Facebook Fairy Tales. And so she was my agent on that book. And then I ended up moving to a different agent for my novels. But the way I got that first agent was by writing that first book. I went on a website called agentquery.com and found the names of all the agents that did women's fiction books. And I sent you never send the book. You just send a paragraph saying what the book's about and a paragraph about who you are and how you're going to, sell the book. And I sent that to 80 agents. And I was really lucky that I got 3 agents who were interested. And then I spoke to all of them on the telephone. And I think I even met with the agent I ended up picking in New York, because I lived in New York City, and the other agents I think were in California. And I ended up going with her.
And my God.
It was wonderful. And I still am friends with her. I have a different agent now just because I sort of started writing different kinds of books, but she was great, as is my agent now, who I've been with for, I think, 11 years.
Well, I'm going to have to write a book, and mine's going to be called The Church of Everlasting Fulfillment. No, I'm just joking.
You're funny.
No, so I just, oh my God. So, but before you wrote Facebook Fairy Tales, you actually edited the book for Kerry Kennedy.
I did. So I had some exposure to the book world prior to writing my own book. Kerry Kennedy wrote a book called, she's written more than one book, but this specific book was called Being Catholic Now, Prominent Americans Talk About Change in the Church.
Yes.
That's the subtitle.
That's a long title.
Long title, but Being Catholic Now is the real title of the book. And it was essays with some famous people who are Catholic, some people who are just in the church, sort of prominent figures who've had interesting experiences, and whether or not at this point in their life they still sort of like rely on their faith, or if they've, consider themselves very religious anymore, and why.
Okay. So, I mean, this is just, I'm just going to throw this out here. Now, for everybody that doesn't know, Kerry Kennedy was married to Andrew Cuomo. For those who don't know that, they were married for 15 years. And so I'm going to cover that too, but not with you. That's going to be a totally separate
You can ask me about that. I know Andrew very well.
Well, look,
the way I met Kerry was that Kerry and Andrew were my neighbors. And that was how I originally met Kerry and Andrew. And then I ended up working on the book with Kerry, 8 or 9 years later. So it was not until we had been friends for nearly a decade that we actually worked together. But I do know Andrew, and I'm actually a big Andrew supporter and fan. So,
this is, I watch.
That's not the most popular opinion now. I know him, and I know he's not a great person.
And you know what? And when you see all of this on the news, and what I was doing, which I watch CNN all the time. So I'm watching Chris, and I want to see how they were going to handle covering this case. And honestly, they've done a great job. And it's
really tricky when it's your sibling. Yes, they can't be, impartial.
Yes.
And it's just like great at what he does, and also a really nice, good person.
Yeah. So, this is getting to be weird. But okay, so we got that, Emily, and we before we came live, I told you I was going to ask you, I just want to break it up a little bit. What type of TV shows do you watch, or do you watch TV at all?
I do watch TV. I love TV. Okay. I don't have a great attention span for movies, so I predominantly actually watch TV. I probably don't watch as much as most people because I have 2 youngish sons as well, who are 10 and 11. Yeah. But what do I watch? I watch a lot of reality TV because, which I always tell people, by the time at night that I am actually sitting down to watch a television show, I am exhausted. I've prepared for everybody. I'm like 1 or 2 glasses of wine in, and I'm not watching a show that has an intricate plot. I started to watch that show Homeland years ago with Claire Danes, which is a fabulous show. Here's what happened. We'd be 10 episodes into the season, and I would turn to my husband and I would say, who is that guy? Is he new? And he'd be like, he's been on the last 6 episodes. What show are you watching? And I will just like zone out, so I don't recognize this guy, and he's like pivotal to the plot that's been ongoing for half a dozen episodes. So I watch a lot of reality TV because it's, I don't want to say mindless, but you don't have to concentrate as much. So I watch The Real Housewives of New Jersey, obviously. I've written
obviously,
and I also wrote a book with Teresa Giudice, who's a very good friend of mine. And all those ladies are great. I watch Real Housewives of New York, Real Housewives of Orange County, because I'm actually friends with Kelly Dodd and Bronwyn Burke.
Oh my God. You know what? I have you on here, didn't know all of this, because this whole scandal with Bronwyn too, but oh my God. You know
Bronwyn
what?
is amazing. And so is Kelly, by the way. I know they're not friends right now, but they're both great people. And what else do I watch? I watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, obviously. What do I watch that's not? So I watched like things on, I've watched like Emily in Paris. I watched Selling Sunset. That's another one I watch on Netflix with the Oppenheim brothers. And I
haven't watched it yet. Okay.
Oh, I watch the new Dynasty with Liz Gillies. I'm obsessed with that show. I'm almost through all of it.
Emily, I couldn't even watch that because even when Dynasty was on, Dallas was my show. Me and J.R. Ewing.
Hold on one sec.
Okay.
On the air. Hold on. Does everyone want to talk to my mother? Hold on.
Oh, yes. Let's say hi to Mommy.
Hi, Mom. I'm actually doing a television interview right now. You're on the phone with me during the interview. The host thinks it's hysterical. Say hi to everyone, Mom.
Hi. Hi.
That's my mom. She's an actress.
You have an amazing daughter.
You have an amazing daughter, she said. Don't you agree?
Oh, yes. Like me.
Just like her, she said. Exactly. You wonder where I came from. All right. I will call you back, Mom. All right. Bye.
Oh, my God.
That's
Emily.
my mom. Now you've also got my mother, too.
Yep, you have some amazing friends. And I didn't even know, just looking you up, I got really nervous, to be honest. I got really, really nervous. And then, do you know anybody in the Real Housewives of New York?
I, not well, not like the other girls. Okay. I have met, oh God, I can't think of her name now. The blonde who's friends with Ramona.
Oh, Sonia.
I have met Sonia one time. She's super fun and super nice. And I've spoken on the phone to Luann de Lesseps a few times, and she is also seems like a lovely person.
Okay. Well, see,
my husband has met Bethany, but I have never met her, and I don't think any of
I love me some Bethany. Not everybody love Bethany, but Bethany, I love her. She's real to me.
I do too. I think
you're gonna have to come back one time and cover a show with me. You have to come back and do a review on the show, preferably not one of your friends, because
I will. I will. I can be impartial even about my friends.
Okay. Okay, good. So look, you have to come back and help me out, because some of these women, I just want to go, but anyway, so, with all the books you wrote, and then you do travel books. You do travel columns for Westport Magazine.
Yes.
So how often do you publish in Westport Magazine?
So Westport Magazine is bi-monthly. It's 6 times a year.
Okay.
And it's owned by Moffley Media. They own a number of sort of like lifestyle publications in Connecticut. So they have Westport, they have Greenwich, Connecticut, Darien, New Canaan, Fairfield, all of them. So my column sometimes just publishes in Westport. Sometimes it publishes in a bunch of them, which is great. They have a huge readership. So 6 times a year, I write my travel and books column, which is a feature on a luxury resort or hotel and a sidebar with the books that you should take when you travel there. So I do that. And then I also do a lot of interviews for them, like celebrity interviews or interviews with successful people, you know, who aren't necessarily on TV.
Okay, so when you're writing these travel columns and these books, so are these places that you yourself have visited, or do they come to you to write something about them?
I never write up a place that I haven't visited.
That's what I wanted to know.
my articles aren't reviews. The truth is I'm only really going to the top amazing places and sort of telling people what your experience will be like when you get there. So if I have ever had a not great experience somewhere, I would simply tell them that I wouldn't write it up, but that's never happened to me. So mine are less reviews and more, this is what you'll experience, and here are the things that were really specifically good. And also sometimes if it's a great area, here's what you can do in the area outside the hotel that I experienced. Maybe it's something for kids or a good restaurant or something like that.
Okay, so I meant to ask you this from the beginning too. Now, I don't think, well, people probably don't know, but you actually produced for Peter Jennings' report. How, I mean, my God, you have, woman, you're just amazing. So
well, I'm definitely going to be honest on this one. I was not a producer at Peter Jennings. It was my first job. So I was a production assistant. First I was the assistant to the executive producer of Peter Jennings Reporting, and Peter when he was on our show, because usually he did World News Tonight. He did the news every night and he had his assistants over there. But when he came over and did Peter Jennings Reporting, because I was the executive producer's assistant, I just sort of acted as his assistant if he needed anything. And then I was a production assistant on a couple projects toward the end. It was a great job. The man I worked for, Tom Yellen, is a genius in the industry. He has been making documentaries for a very, very long time, really brilliant documentaries. And it was amazing to get my first start there.
Oh my God, it sounds amazing. So tell everybody, what college did you go to? I went to
Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts. It's an all-girls school.
Yes. How was it going to an all-girls school? Because when I saw that, I went, that's an all-girls school.
You know, I think I had a unique experience. First of all, for my freshman year, I went to Washington University in St. Louis. So I did have one co-ed year of college. And then when I went to Smith, I had a serious boyfriend who was at Dartmouth, which was about an hour and 15 minutes away. So I would see him every single weekend because we both had cars. So I would either drive there, he would drive to me, or, and this was definitely something everyone should look for in a boyfriend, he had a little ski place in Vermont, and sometimes we would meet there. His family did. I should say his family did. And we met there because that was about an hour and 15 minutes away too. So I would not say I had like the total all-girls school experience. I also had some friends who are at Amherst, which is another college close by that's co-ed. So yeah.
But you do know that the cliche is Dartmouth boys only date Smith girls.
I do know that cliche. I've heard it one time too many.
I'm serious. When I saw Smith, I was like, oh gosh, she must have had a Dartmouth. And I was going to ask, is your husband a Dartmouth?
No. And the funny thing is that I was actually dating the Dartmouth guy before I got to Smith, or before I had any idea I was even going there. And actually I was dating him before he knew he was going to Dartmouth. We were high school sweethearts. I am not married. He is not my current husband.
I didn't know.
My current husband went to Rutgers, as did my father.
Okay. So you gonna keep it all. I like that. But when I saw the name of the school, I was like, no.
It's definitely a real stereotype. Stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, you know?
And I saw your husband's name and I said, nope, I'm not gonna look. I don't even want to know if he went to Dutchman. I didn't even.
Nope, he went to Clark for a couple of years and then he graduated from Rutgers where he transferred.
Oh my God. So I have a few more questions for you and then we're going to get into your, I want to talk about your book, especially the last two are the ones that I really want to talk about. So if you didn't know, so you've been in media from what I can see from just looking at the career path you've taken. So if it wasn't media or a writer, what else did you see yourself doing?
Okay, there are two things.
Okay.
One is therapist for sure, because I always listen to my friends' problems and give advice, and I like doing that. Okay. And the second would be chef, but I just want to say that I would have to have the talent to be a chef, which I do not have. I am an amateur at-home cook at best. But I would love to have the talent to be a chef and therefore be a chef. Okay, let me tell you something. Susie gave me that question for you because I'm like, okay, what else should I ask her? And she goes, I love that, Susie. Yeah, she did. She gave me that question because I was like, I was racking my brain and I had a lot of questions. And then I told Susie, so I was reading her some of the questions and she sent me three good questions for you, which I'm getting ready to, no, because I had that one. She told me it was a good one. So I'm not giving you credit for that, Susie. Anyway. No credit, Susie. Therapist. And I'm going to say, I can see you doing that because just talking to you backstage, I was really nervous. You calmed me down and you wanted us to have a glass of wine, but then they were talking about me really bad. It's 4:00 and Heidi's drinking. So but it's 5:00 here. So I think it's fair if it's 5:00 here that, yeah, it's 5:00 somewhere. Like transitive property or something applies to you as well. Oh my God. So you would love to have a chef. I'm coming, Susie. Yeah. I'll cook you dinner. I'm a chef. I cook. Well, I'm not. My father was a chef and I cook. I cook all the time. So what I've been doing now is when I make myself something to eat, when I prepare something, I take a picture of it and I post it and I just make everybody hungry. So I do that a lot too. Where are you located, Heidi? I'm in Houston. Okay. Got it. Yes. I've been back in Houston since 2000, but I lived for 20 years on the East Coast. So I am back in Houston, but Louisiana is home. New Orleans is home. Well, a lot of good food down there. Yes, well, I go home all the time. Well, I'm right here. So it takes me about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours to go to Lake Charles, and then about 5.5 hours to get to New Orleans. So yeah, so I just go home whenever I jump in the car and take a drive. But I wanted to know what author, if any author, inspired you to write, or did you have a favorite author? I would probably say Judy Blume. There was a book of hers called Summer Sisters, which I read before I wrote a novel. And I loved that book so much. And it really inspired me to write women's fiction. I was going to tell you, one of your covers reminded me of the cover for her book. Oh, you remember? With the girl with the sunset, and I was like, this looks really familiar to me. And when you said it, sadly, a lot of women's fiction books look that way. Kind of the go-to, the women staring at. Finally, I said to my editor, when I got to Some Women, I was like, no more women staring out over a body of water with the sun coming down. Like, I need something different. Okay, so I want to know. That was how we got this. Yes, women, Some Women. Yes. I'm telling you, your titles are so damn
catchy. It
Yeah.
makes you pick it up and read it. I bought a CD like that one time. I walked by. It just helped because the guy was gorgeous on the cover. And I got it home and I played it from beginning to end. And it was Tony Terry. And to this day, I play it. I love it. But I bought it because he looks so damn good on the cover.
That's hysterical. Listen, covers sell books. There's covers and titles sell books. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, I'm telling you, you got to package it right. And it's not bad if you got a good looking man just looking at you and staring. I'm like, okay, you're coming with me. So that's what I did. But
Susie, that's so nice. Susie said I seem like an amazing person. That's really nice.
She is an amazing person. She made me feel really, really, really comfortable talking to her. Yes. So, okay. And I asked you this, and are there any hidden truths in your books?
Are there any hidden truths in my books? So no, not the ones that have been, so I never even finished the story. When I got my agent with that first novel that was about the relationship I had been in, I then got the deal for Facebook Fairy Tales before she ever submitted that to publishing houses. And by the time Facebook Fairy Tales came out, I decided I never wanted that book to see the light of day because it was about this boyfriend's family. And I just thought, by that point, I was over it and I didn't want to go back there. And so I guess there's a hidden truth in that book. But other than that, I don't think so. Okay.
And your books don't coincide with each other, do they? It's not like a series.
Nope. None of them. They're all standalone. They don't have any even have any overlapping characters.
Oh, none?
None.
Okay. Dr. Melanie just put a question, and I put a question up there for you from Dr. Melanie. She is a really good friend.
Sure. So in order to get a book published with a big traditional publishing house like Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, St. Martin's, Hachette, and those houses and many other big ones, you have to have a literary agent. So what I did first was, as I said, in the case of a novel, you have to write the whole book. So I wrote a whole novel and I sent it to all these literary agents. I got someone to represent me, and then they sell the book to the publishing house. That's their job. If you want to write a book that's nonfiction, you can reach out to agents with an idea and your credentials to write that book, because nonfiction books are usually either memoirs. And so you have to either be someone famous or have something so extraordinary that's happened to you. And you also have to be a good writer, because unless you're a celebrity, you kind of want to write your own memoir. That's kind of the point of it. Or another kind of nonfiction book would be from an expert. So I don't know what kind of doctor you are, but if you're a plastic surgeon, let's just say, and you're a successful plastic surgeon, you may write a book on plastic surgery as an expert. And in that case, you would just need to send literary agents who you are, what your platform is, how you're going to sell, why people are going to buy your book, and what your idea is. And in that case, they would maybe offer you representation or ask you to write a little bit more thorough of a proposal. And then again, they would then turn around and send that to a publishing house. But Susie's saying she self-published her book, which you can also do. Unfortunately, and I always hate saying this, but I think most people who self-publish know this, unless you're published by a publishing house, you're not, by definition, considered a published author. And that only reason that is not because you're not as good as authors who've been published, but because anyone can self-publish a book. So in other words, like my 10-year-old son could self-publish a book. no one would read it, and it probably wouldn't be that good as much as I love him, but he could. So since anyone can, if you want to write a book because you want to write it and you just want to get it out there for yourself, then I always say self-publish. That's a much easier road. If you want to publish a book because you want to continue to write books and make a career out of it, I suggest at the very least trying to get a literary agent and a book deal the traditional way. I do know people who've done that and have then who decided that route wasn't for them and they wanted to self-publish. And I know authors who've then gone back to publishing houses and done both and been really happy with both processes. But until you know enough about book publishing to do it on your own, if you can get a literary agent and get a publisher, then, great.
I'm serious. Susie's book, the one I'm reading, the first one, you can't put it down. But then when you start reading, things start going on. So the book lays on my bed. So I think I'm like 4 more chapters to go, and then I can start my new one. Her books, I told her this when she was on, and I really cannot wait to read your book either, your books. But I told her it felt like I was back in San Francisco when she was writing. That's the feel. And then when I'm reading her books, I caught certain glimpses of her, and I would tell her, I'm like, that was really cute. She goes, oh my God, you caught that. I said, yes, I caught that. So
and I just want to be clear to say that it's not meant in a negative way. People who ghostwrite books, people who self-publish books many of them are equally, if not more talented writers than people who somehow managed to get their book published. So there's no shame in any way in self-publishing. It's That's just right. that, let's say you wrote a play and starred in it yourself for your friends, you wouldn't be considered an actress. Do you know what I mean? So that's the only reason, but it's not to say that those books aren't as good and as worthwhile of being read. So I'm sure Susie's books are fabulous. I have no doubt.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they are. But so let me.
So now
you're good. I put Pretty Revenge between us. Let's discuss Pretty Revenge.
Trying to get in here we go. There I am.
That title alone would make you want to read, and the cover would make you want to pick up this book. I am so serious.
That's very nice of you to say. That is a great cover. I do not take any credit for it. That is completely the design department at Gallery. I take credit only for loving it. And the one thing I will show you is that if you see, I'm going out of the picture now, in this eye, there's actually a person, which is a very little detail. And my husband thought of that. And I told the design department and Gallery, and they thought it was such a great idea that they added it to the book. There's
my God.
A silhouette of a person. Yeah.
I see it in her eye.
Yep. And my husband, when he saw the book, which was this cover, but just not with that person I really can't keep myself in the frame here. This is terrible.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna take it down.
Counterintuitive because when I move this way, it goes that way. But anyway, okay. I have something wrong with me.
I saw you fine. Everybody saw you. I don't think you knew it, but I had it right between us. So we had a clear shot of you.
Oh, that's really funny. Okay, but so that's the deal with the cover. And all my covers are designed by really talented graphic designers at the publishing houses.
Okay, do you want to give us a little synopsis about Pretty Revenge? I mean, I love the name. I love the cover.
Sure. So Pretty Revenge is about 2 women who, I think it was maybe 13 or 14 years ago, I can't even remember now, when they were younger, there was a circumstance that ensued. One of them witnessed something happening with the other woman and helped her in that moment. And after helping her, that woman ended up sort of screwing her. And and setting this life off course for the next decade plus. So all these years later, the girl who was screwed sees the woman who screwed her on television. She is now a socialite with a burgeoning wedding concierge business in Manhattan, and she's married to a handsome guy. She's rich, she's beautiful, she has everything going for her. And scorned woman decides to give herself a little makeover, move herself to New York, leave her down and out life of just being fired from a job and her crappy boyfriend, and she goes to work for the woman who scorned her without knowing who she is, in the effort to seek revenge on her after all these years.
Yes, that I think, no, I don't think, definitely have to read that one too. Oh my God, your book. So the last one I'm going to bring up is the one that was just released. And this is the one that caught my eye when I went to
be famous. Wow.
There we go. Perfectly
you got it.
Famous. There it is.
Oh, there we go. That's
ready for you today. Now,
yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about Perfectly Famous?
Yes. So this book is about a woman named Ward DeFleur, which is a name that one of my closest friends came up with, which I loved. I think it's such a good, pen name for an author. And it was her pen name. So Ward DeFleur is a famous crime novelist. And at the beginning of the book, this is not a surprise, you find out that her teenage daughter has been abducted and killed.
Oh.
And there is another woman that lives in the same town who's also a mother and has a daughter her age and is a big fan of Ward DeFleur's books. And her name is Bree. And after Ward DeFleur's daughter is killed, she flees because she is in such a depression and she doesn't want to speak to anyone. She doesn't want anyone to find her. She reneges on her future book deals. And this woman, Bree, who's a former journalist who's just divorced and is looking for a purpose in her life, decides to make it her mission to find Ward and tell her story. And so the book is about both of these women sort of on their separate paths to, I guess you'll see if they ultimately come together in the end. And and what happens when Ward DeFleur is either found or not found.
Oh my God.
Oh, and I should also say that Bree, in searching for Ward, gets entangled with her killer.
See, it was something about that title, and you talking about it, I'm sitting here going, okay, I can't wait, because it said delivered Friday. Same thing happened with Susie's book, and we finally found it, so I'm gonna keep checking. But I am so mad because I definitely wanted to get deep within it, just so I can get your take. But just you describing
we'll have to do this again.
Well, I didn't want to, so I looked online. And there's 40 pages you can read. That's a preview. I didn't want to do that because then I would be pissed because I don't have the rest of the book to finish reading. So, totally. And I was going to read. Yeah, I'm serious. And I said, well, I can get the ebook. I said, but then no, because I ordered the book. So I'm just like, I want the book. I like to have a glass of wine, some cheese, some hard salami, some ham, and read. And that's what I did. So I really want to do that. So, but anyway, do you want to take a few questions?
That's funny. I said entangled with her killer, entangled with her daughter's killer. I should say it would be really hard to get entangled with someone who already
her own killer.
And also I saw someone asked how I come up with my characters' names. And so I have two boys, and both times I had a really long list of girls' names. I had tons of girls' names that I loved.
Their names are gorgeous.
I had two boys who are named Jax and Hugo.
Beautiful. I love. Now Hugo shocked me. Jax is nice, and I said, how did she come up with Hugo? And I mean, yes, I had their names. I wasn't going to say their names, but yes,
okay.
I mean, it's there. It's on your website.
It's
but
on my website. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jackson Hugo, and I have just named every character after every girl that I never had. So it's all my like girls' baby names that I loved. And so yeah, so I use those names. And then for the guys, I also usually use for like the good looking hot guys, I use like boys names that I liked. And then for the others, I use more like generic names.
Okay, so for the hot guys, were these guys going to Dortmund College or where? I'm sorry.
No, they were not going to Dartmouth College. They were going to Rutgers, where my husband went.
I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in there.
Totally.
Oh my God. So, okay. So I want to save this for last, but I'm looking to see if anybody else has any questions for you.
Yeah.
I think let's see. I've asked you just about every question that I thought that was, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm looking at my phone just to make sure I haven't missed anybody's questions at all. Somebody wants to know, and I'm gonna ask that question too. Have you been approached to have your books turned into movies?
I have. At the current time, Pretty Revenge is attached to a well-known actress and will hopefully sell to a production company and then network very soon.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations. Okay. See, I can see Pretty Revenge, but I can also see Some Women being turned into a movie.
Definitely.
I really can. I can see that being turned in just by the title alone. And from
your mouth, Heidi.
And that reminded me of what's the movie with Sally Field and
Julia Roberts?
Julia, yes. That when I saw Some Women, I was thinking about a group of women.
God, Stealing Magnolia or something like
Steel
that.
Magnolias.
Right?
Yes. Steel Magnolias. When I saw that title, I envisioned, seriously, Steel Magnolias when it said Some Women, because it's a group of women, old, young, and I haven't even read the book, but that's what I envisioned.
Well, I like that comparison, let me tell you. So I actually have to jump in 2 minutes, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, one quick thing. See, I got lost in my thoughts now. But anyway, I want to thank you for coming on, and whatever it was I was thinking, you threw me with. I can't remember now, but I will definitely email you, and I really appreciate you coming on. I really, really did.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh, hold on. A couple more things. Someone said I came in late, but aren't you working with Marge from Real Housewives? I did collaborate with Margaret on her book, and it comes out on April 13th. It's a Tuesday, so April 13th. And someone else had said that their daughter was looking at a lot of these New England schools, which is so awesome. If you have any questions, you can contact me through my website. And everyone follow me, Emily Liebert, on Instagram.
Yes. I'm going to let them know, but Emily, thank you for coming through. Thank you for making me feel relaxed, and I appreciate.
If anyone wants book plates from me, or if anyone ever wants me to Zoom with their book club, I do that all the time. So just hit me up. You can go on my website.
I think we might do that. We might do a Zoom with the book club. Let everybody get ordered your books. We'll
definitely have wine for that. We need wine and cheese for that.
Wine, yes. Wine and conversations about the book club. But we put the links on where to get the books from in the chat. But yeah, so we definitely have to do that. Thank you, Maria. I appreciate you. Oh my God, thank you so much. But I will be emailing you with my address, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. And I will be hitting you up because I'm gonna hold you to your promise to come back on and do a show.
I will definitely do that. Thank you so much, Heidi.
Thank you, sweetie. Bye. It was nice meeting you.
Bye.
Just hit the button to leave the studio. I appreciate it.
Oh, okay, hold on.
It said leave the studio. Oh my God, that was great. Thank you guys for being here. I really enjoyed having Emily, and I was really nervous, and she made me feel really comfortable just talking with her. So guys, thank you again. I was going to go live later on tonight. Not sure now. I'm digging up some more stuff on this whole situation with Jen Shaw. I also have new court documents about Erica Girardi, which I pulled those as well. So I just want to wait and see. I think Ghost Hunter Joe might go live, so I'll see how I feel. But do you guys notice I shampooed my hair and deep conditioned it just so I can be, I can look good. So thank all of you for being here, and I appreciate all of your support. I will talk at you guys later. Have a great rest of the afternoon. I'm going to go back and finish watching the trial of Derek Chauvin for the George Floyd murder, and I will see you guys later on. Thank you. Bye.